a nuclear bomb while chanting death to America and death to Israel. And finally, the president comes in here and does something, and he's the bad guy.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 7 on AM 1250. The Answer.
Project Veritas strikes again. Yes, and this one will mean that Bernie Sanders is going to have a lot of explaining to do. Project Veritas had someone with a hidden camera talking to his field organizer in Iowa. His name is Kyle Jurek. And here he is. He's talking about how Bernie feels about Elizabeth Warren, who said yesterday, by the way, that Bernie told her that a woman couldn't beat Trump.
What can he do? I mean, Bernie has kind of started opening up lines of attack against Warren, but he keeps it policy based. People tell me that on the doors, I like Bernie, but I really want a woman to be. It's like, wait, so you're okay with a woman if she has worse policies? Just because she's a woman, because she has a vagina, that's why you're gonna vote for her? If we could beat Donald Trump, as long as we nominate a woman. Idiot. What the?
They don't get it, man.
The world is on fire. This is an emergency situation, and you're hung up on vaginas.
Yeah, so Bernie might want to explain that one. And the candidates, here he is. This is the same guy, by the way, Kyle Jurek. Here he is on what might happen at the convention in Milwaukee if Bernie doesn't get the nomination.
So if Trump gets reelected, what?
And cities burn.
What we gotta do?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of time left. We have to save human civilization. And obviously, Trump, don't give two about making sure that the world doesn't burn.
Bernie doesn't get the nomination, or it goes to the second round at the DNC convention, Milwaukee will burn.
Milwaukee will burn if Bernie doesn't get the nomination. That's a good one. Anyway, the candidates will debate tonight. What are the chances that somebody asks Bernie if this guy still has his job or if he's going to keep his job? And speaking of spying on people, when we come back, we're going to talk to Sharyl Attkisson, who's suing the FBI and the DOJ for hacking her computer. Stick around. Obamacare, Trumpcare, ACA, COBRA. There are so many choices, but all seem to bring one word to mind: expensive. There are lots of changes happening in healthcare today. Fortunately, I know someone that has been on the forefront of health insurance for years: Todd Marley at Marley Financial. Todd and his team of professionals are licensed with virtually every healthcare provider in the country. They help determine which plan is right for you and then expertly help you choose the best plan for your needs and then do so prudently. Don't need maternity coverage? Call Marley Financial. Have pre-existing conditions? Call Marley Financial. Want just catastrophic or just accident? You know the answer, because they know how to design the plans. Most of their clients save 30 to 60%, which can add up to several $1,000s a year. Call Todd at Marley Financial, 724-884-1496. That's 724-884-1496, on the web at marleyfg.com. Todd Marley at Marley Financial, 724-884-1496 at marleyfg.com.
Hi, this is Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Just because it's cold outside, it doesn't mean you need to stop grilling, not if you've got the right grill, and that would be a Solaire infrared grill. Solaire infrared grills perform equally well in the cold of winter as in the heat of summer. Just like you feel warm from the sun when you step out of the shadows, the Solaire infrared burners heat your food directly, not the air around the food like conventional grills do. The intense heat also results in the juiciest food you will ever taste from a grill, gas, charcoal, or otherwise. To get the great taste, it's all about the heat. And Solaire Infrared from BestHotGrill.com gets hotter than anything you've ever experienced. Try it yourself with the Solaire Demo Program. Solaire is truly the last grill you'll ever buy. Learn more about these amazing USA-made grills at BestHotGrill.com. That's besthotgrill.com, besthotgrill.com.
What is it costing you in vet bills for that convenience of just pulling open a bag of
formulated, extruded, processed cereal bits that cost a ton of money anyways?
How do you feed your dog to derive not only energy, but a good coat, bright eyes, and a great attitude?
Come to Dinovite for help.
DINOVITE.com.
I found his raw meat diet on Dinovite.com with just the raw meat and the eggs and the Dinovite and the Super Omega on top of it.
Try Super Omega Fish Oil.
Buy 2, get 1 free.
Ground beef, white rice, eggs, including the shells, and the Dinovite supplement, and then the Lico Chops.
Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free.
It just balances out his body and his mind and his spirit.
Adding Dinovite to their diet has every single dog in my kennel looking better than they have ever looked.
Their skin is so much better now that they're on the raw diet. I don't even give them the kibble anymore.
DINOVITE.com.
Don't let your home be invaded this season with rats and mice. Keep them away the most humane way with Plug-In Pest Free, 100% chemical free, totally safe for your family and pets, and environmentally friendly. G'day, I'm Scott from Plug-In Pest Free, the electromagnetic pest control device that has been scientifically tested and consumer proven since 1995. Now that's fair dinkum. With a 60-day money-back guarantee and a 2-year manufacturer's warranty, what have you got to lose? Stop inviting unwanted rodents and pests in with baits. Say goodbye to traps and start saving money today with Plug-In Pest Free. Order yours now at gopestfree.com and save 20% with promo code PEST20. That's gopestfree.com, promo code PEST20. Are you ready to start saving money? Gopestfree.com, promo code PEST20. Don't spray and regret, plug in and forget.
You're listening to the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
I'm glad you had me. Thank you.
The FISA court is looking more and more like a bad idea every day, and we might be getting to the point where the FBI even looks like a bad idea. Sharyl Attkisson is suing Rod Rosenstein, who was the acting director of the FBI, when her computers and her phones were hacked. She's the host, I should say, of Full Measure on the Sinclair Network, and it can be seen Sunday mornings at 10 here in Pittsburgh at 10 o'clock. And Sharyl joins us now. Sharyl, thanks for being here.
Glad you had me. Thank you.
So you're suing the former Deputy Attorney General of the United States for spying on you. That's it's a pretty big target. It's not going to be easy, is it?
Well, nothing about this case has been easy because, to state the obvious, when the people who did it to you are the ones that control the law enforcement body or the law enforcement mechanism, it makes it nearly impossible to get justice, even through the civil court system. But I still think it's worth trying. I would note that it's our information, as I suspected all along, that I'm the least of which this happened to. There were hundreds of people that were illegally spied on outside the FISA court system by the government. And I think that's why this case is so important not to let go.
Is there any doubt that your computers and phones were hacked? Is there any doubt about that?
No, there's no challenge to that. We've known that 5 to 6 years through, now we have 5 separate forensics exams that confirm the government nature of the intrusions through the software and the IP addresses. And these forensics, I'm told, according to the forensics people, this is irrefutable. There's not a question as to whether the government was in my computer. The controversy was, once we started suing, the Department of Justice obstructed and delayed for years, and then the judge ended up saying, agreeing with the Department of Justice, hey, you don't have the names of the agents. We were suing them as John Does. You don't have the names, so the case shouldn't go forward. On appeal, one judge saw it our way, one federal appeals judge, who said, how could she have the names when you never allowed discovery, never got a single piece of paper from the Department of Justice? So that was sort of the sticking point. Now we have names. I mean, it's really an impossible task and a miracle that we got some, but we did. And I still think I'm kind of jaded about our justice system now, but even if you bring the guys who say, I did it in handcuffs to the court, if the Department of Justice doesn't want to do anything with it, we'll never get to the proof stage. We'll never be able to present that. They should already be prosecuting this case, and they're not.
Yeah, so you did have someone come forward and admit to this, correct? Someone within the within the DOJ or within one of the agencies?
Someone who worked for the Department of Justice for various agencies under DOJ over a period of time, and has said, I was part of it personally. So this is someone confessing, and that's about as good as it gets. But even that's not enough when you're confessing about the law enforcement body, DOJ, that has to prosecute the crime and won't do it.
Well, how much, I mean, I know you want to win the case, but what kind of value would there be just in getting the publicity that this deserves? And is it getting that?
I think it's getting more publicity than the case has gotten to date. We've gotten some print articles, and that's, I guess, the main goal, because I'm a little bit, as I said, cynical and jaded about what can happen through the court system or through Department of Justice. But I argue that if red flags like what happened to me hadn't gotten largely ignored, we wouldn't have had 2016. And if we don't do something about it now, we can expect more of the same. There's no doubt in my mind about that. It's important not because it happened to me. It's important because this is happening on a scale we probably have no idea about, just a little public hint. So the publicity, I think, as you point out, this is the best thing I can hope for today. And what I'm really happy that at least it's gotten attention and word of these revelations have gotten out.
Now, this is a lawsuit and not a criminal investigation. So if you win the lawsuit, then somebody was guilty of some serious stuff there, breaking some laws. What follows? Let's say you win the lawsuit. What happens the next day?
Well, the next day, I guess we just say that we held somebody accountable. They will have to pay something theoretically,
all right,
which is not the point of this, but they will have to have some accounting or some punishment. But even then, as you said, I have no power to launch a criminal prosecution. That's up to the agency who's responsible for doing the crime. So we're back to square one with that unless, they really decide to take care of business. Disappointingly, it's been very much the same, this case, fighting the Department of Justice under Obama and Trump, very similar, with the same people fighting it. So I don't know that that's going to change.
And you're dealing with holdovers from the Obama administration, the people who you say hacked your computers and your phones.
I don't know who the people are. They're just career Department of Justice people who don't change and continue to fight the suit the same way they did under President Obama.
Yeah. And so what were they looking for in your case?
Well, according to the information, this began under Fast and Furious when I was speaking to government informants about the government gun walking case that they were denying at the time that they later admitted and apologized for. Some of my sources were ATF agents and people working in the federal government, and the government was trying to crack down on those people, trying to find out who was talking, and I think trying to punish them in some cases, perhaps plant classified documents as they did in my computer or do other mischief to try to stop and shape this reporting. The surveillance continued as I covered many other stories, including the Benghazi attacks and more. So it began under Fast and Furious, but it
I would guess that would be kind of chilling to a person in your line of work, being an investigative reporter, to see that see things pop up on your computer that tell you that somebody's been sneaking around in there.
Well, just to be clear, nothing ever flagged that to me. I had sources tell me it was happening.
Oh, okay.
This was before Edward Snowden, before any of these revelations, so it sounded crazy until a contact of mine, and I can now say it's a former FBI unit chief and a lawyer, got the initial forensics exam and came back and said, wow, we, meaning his government colleagues, were all shocked that someone in the government did this to you, but there's no doubt about it. And then much later, a third computer that was not involved in all of this, there was a physical sign while I was on it of someone being on it with me. They can operate your computers remotely, I learned. And that was a different computer, and someone, analysts said that was done so that I could see it, in their opinion, so that I could know they were watching, that they were, engaging in some kind of mischief.
Wow. And how far up does it go?
Well, we're suing, as you know, Rod Rosenstein, who was U.S.
Right.
attorney at the time in Baltimore, where this unit was based that was doing the illegal hacking. And I will only say we have other information, but we're not comfortable suing over it. So as of now, we say it went as far as Rod Rosenstein.
Okay. And the name CrowdStrike pops up in the suit. We've heard that name out there and tied in with the hacking of the Democratic Committee computers and their emails. How is CrowdStrike involved in this lawsuit?
Well, let me go to that first. CrowdStrike is the private company that the Democratic National Committee called in to investigate its supposed Russian hacking because it didn't want, for whatever reason, the FBI to look into it, but they let this private company named CrowdStrike do so. FBI never saw it. CrowdStrike, as it happens, I didn't know this either, one of the top people there is a guy named Sean Henry who came from the FBI. And we're suing him because our information is that when he was at the FBI as a top official, he was part of this chain that was doing the allegedly illegal surveillance on me and other Americans. So he left to go to CrowdStrike after this operation of the illegal surveillance, but that's why he's in the suit.
Okay, and as you deal with what you had to overcome personally with this and deal with personally, what do you think about what's going on with FISA and all the people who we keep hearing are eventually going to be in big trouble when the investigation is finished and when the indictments come down?
I can't help but wonder whether anybody is going to be in big trouble other than maybe, a few selected sacrificial lambs, I guess you would say.
Wow.
With the FISA court now nominating or appointing this hugely anti-Trump liberal lawfare blogger lawyer to help oversee FBI fixes, as the FBI then thanks itself and says, we won't do it again. I'm not very comforted by that. This all is a rerun of what happened in the early 2000s when the FBI got caught doing mischief in the FISA court and promised to fix it. Well, I don't think they can fix it from within. I think that's pretty clear. And if it's left up to them and to the FISA court, where all these abuses happened, to come up with the fixes, I'm not confident at all that there will be. I think there has to be something bigger. And I've heard from some pretty high-ranking members of Congress that they seem to think the whole FISA court might go away because of all this. Now, if you ask me, I'll say the people who influence to make sure things don't change and to make sure things stay the way they are powerful enough that I would put my money on keeping the FISA court as it is. But there is definitely some momentum for just doing away with it and replacing it with something entirely different.
We're talking to Sharyl Attkisson. She's the host of Full Measure, which you can watch here on Fox 53 Sunday mornings at 10 o'clock, Sinclair Network. You've said in a quote that I saw in a piece, I think it was on the Epic Times, you'll never get to the proof. They have 6 ways from Sunday to keep a case from going forward. So, I asked you this before, but that sounds like somebody who doesn't like their chances.
I have learned a lot over 6 years. I thought if you brought proof that's irrefutable that the government had been in your computers, which we had, that something happens with that. I learned you never get to the stage where you can present that to a jury or have that be considered if you are obstructed by the very powerful Justice Department with limitless funding of taxpayer money to make sure you run out of money or time on a statute of limitations. So it's hard to be confident, and the sad irony is it's hard to be confident even when you have the proof, the forensics, and a confession. But I'm determined to at least bring forth all the information to light in the public domain as possible. And if we get more done out of this, even better. But I think if viewers and readers and listeners keep talking about it and press and lobby their members of Congress and the Justice Department and the Trump administration not to sweep this under the rug, that's our only hope.
As you've been going through this, have you ever felt physically threatened, or have you felt just, in any way threatened by the government? Not just by what they're, the very fact of what they're doing should be threatening to everybody, but you personally, have you felt any kind of threats headed your way?
I have had intelligence officials who work inside the government tell me that I should be, feel threatened. I've had them come to my house and look at my car, make sure there's nothing in my car. I've had them sweep the house. I've had them tell me I should take certain precautions. Nothing's happened to me other than the fact of the surveillance and what perhaps they intended to do with the computers, and maybe perhaps even plant information and try to get us in trouble. That's all very chilling. But nothing physically has happened to me, so I tend to think if I made it this far with the complaints and the stuff that I've exposed, then I'm probably okay.
What are the people who are involved in this most afraid of? I mean, aside from the obvious, they don't want to be caught doing what they've been doing, but what is the thing that bothers them the most about this? Is it exposing leaks? Is it exposing what they did? Is it both?
I think it's both. I think they also wanted to know what news was coming. So if you look at this more as a routine operation they were doing to a lot of people, rather than an aberration where I was some sort of singular target of a special operation, I think they're doing this to so many people. It's a routine monitoring of people that they need to know who they're talking to and what they're thinking and what they're saying. And they need to try to bring certain people under control if they're leaking or speaking out. I think it's just more of a routine thing done by people who want to control the news people, politicians, and whoever else they're looking at. That's the scary part.
Yeah, I've got a couple minutes left here with Sharyl Attkisson, who is suing the Department of Justice. Her computer and her phones, her computers and phones were hacked. So how long is this going to go on, Sharyl? I mean, these things tend to drag on, as everybody knows.
It does. Though in our case, because this has been going on so long, we're near the end of the statutory limitation, the time that we can even complain and talk about this, even as we get new information. So I have a feeling this will be dispensed of fairly quickly. We're also in something called the Rocket Docket Court in Virginia that does tend to, after years of it sitting around in D.C. court, when we were transferred to Virginia, although we didn't get the outcome we wanted, it did go quickly. This court moves much faster. So I don't think this will drag out for years. As it's been 6 years so far, but I don't think it'll be another 6 years. So
just finishing up, in general, is this when I say problem, I don't mean your problem, I mean the government problem. Is this a Republican or a Democrat problem, or are you expecting, or have you already found that it's everybody?
I would say it's everybody. I would say because of the technology that became available during the 8 years of the Obama administration, and because of some of the cyber initiatives that were funded and expanded under the Obama administration, that a lot of this mischief got bigger during that time. But it had certainly started previous to that, and I believe it continues today, evidenced by the fact that someone hasn't stepped in with the obvious and said a wrong was committed. Let's find out who was responsible, how many people were victimized, and let's punish them. Nobody has said the obvious that would be done if we were in a system that wasn't conflicted.
And one thing I forgot to ask you about, because you kind of brought it up right there, is that the things that were used to hack into your computer and your phones, only the government has access to those devices or to those methods, right?
Well, the two things that tell us this was a government intrusion, this was right off the bat, were the software that was inserted in the computer, which is partly how they surveilled me and my keystrokes and monitored through Skype and so on. The software is proprietary to a federal government agency. That means it's government software. Number two, IP addresses, Internet Protocol addresses found in the computer forensically belong to the government and were not invited. They were intrusive IP addresses that were running in the background of the computer and accessing. Those are government-owned. So those two irrefutable pieces of forensic evidence are what got us, and I'm probably oversimplifying and maybe not describing it technically perfectly because I just talked to the forensics people, but those are the pieces of evidence that told them right away what this was.
Well, Sharyl, I really appreciate you being on, and everybody should appreciate what you're doing, and everybody, I think, is rooting for this thing to go in the right direction, if you know what I mean. I appreciate your time.
Well, thank you. Tell people to tweet about it, talk about it, press for some sort of action. Thank you so much.
I will do that. Thank you very much. That's Sharyl Attkisson, and we'll be right back.
With SRN News, I'm John Scott. President Trump holds a political rally tonight. This evening's rally will mark the president's first 2020 appearance in the battleground state of Wisconsin. And the House is expected to vote Wednesday to send the articles of impeachment against President Trump to the Senate. Amazon says it will allow its third-party sellers to start using FedEx's ground service again after banning them from using it for about a month during the busy holiday shopping season because FedEx purportedly wasn't delivering on time. Rising energy costs drove U.S. consumer prices higher in December. American workers' earnings couldn't keep up. The Labor Department says its consumer price index rose 0.2% last month. On Wall Street, stocks finishing mixed today. The Dow gained 32 points. The Nasdaq down 22 and the S&P was off 5. This is SRN News.
This is Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, and we want to help your house feel more like a home with some of the lowest refinancing rates ever. Rates have dropped so much that many Americans can reduce their rate. You may be able to save money on your monthly mortgage payment right now. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 3.99%, APR 4.23%. Call us at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rates subject to change. Pay 2% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Impactful, amazing, intense, thought-provoking. That's how just a few students describe their experience since enrolling in the Tony Evans Training Center. The best part is, the Training Center is wherever you and your online connection are. Going beyond a Sunday sermon, these compelling Bible study courses take a much deeper look at Scripture, the Bible's writers, social issues of today, and so much more. Log on today to learn more at TonyEvansTraining.org.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka explains Trump's plan.
Let me assure you that he has a plan, and there is a doctrine. The doctrine starts with a very simple rule, and it's a very endearing one. If you live in the swamp or have worked in the swamp, the first rule of what Donald Trump is doing right now is there are no sacred cows.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before John Steigerwald at 5 on AM 1250. The Answer.
The new year will bring a major change in how the Westmoreland County Transit Authority operates. As scholars at the Allegheny Institute for Public Policy note, instead of contracting out the operation of buses it owns, as it has for the past 4 decades, it now will operate the mass transit agency itself. To learn of the transition's challenges, visit AlleghenyInstitute.org, now in its 25th year of challenging conventional public policy wisdom. That's AlleghenyInstitute.org.
When you've got water, fire, or smoke damage, there's no debate. You have to vote yellow. Call ServiceMaster of Greater Pittsburgh. Our team is ready to help 24 hours a day.
Demand the yellow van. Call ServiceMaster.
This election year, you can vote red or you can vote blue, but yellow is always the right choice. Demand the yellow van when you have water damage and call ServiceMaster of Greater Pittsburgh.
Demand the yellow van. Call ServiceMaster.
Does your dog itch, scratch, stink, or shed like crazy? Come to Dynavite for help. Order a 90-day supply of Dynavite. Pick up 2 bottles of Lico Chops, get the 3rd bottle free. New improved Lico Chops with omega-6, omega-3, vitamin E, and now 6 extra direct-fed microbials. Even better for the digestive tract and immune system. And dogs love it. Try Lico Chops. Buy 2, get 1 free. This is Henry Lukasevic for Dynavite.
DINOVITE.com. Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod. Noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
AM 1250 and FM 92.5. The Answer. WPGP Pittsburgh. W223CS Pittsburgh. A division of Salem Media Group. Listen on the Answer mobile app, smart speakers, TuneIn, iHeart, or radio.com. Stuck in traffic? We've got the answer.
Our highway's looking pretty crowded just about everywhere you go. It is really tied up the Parkway West. Inbound from 79 to the Fort Pitt Tunnel. On the outbound side, also very busy. Parkway Center Drive to Carnegie. Parkway East, busy outbound. Bates Street to the Squirrel Hill Tunnel. Delays inbound. Edgewood Swissvale to the Tunnel. County Jail to the Fort Pitt Bridge. Outbound 28 slows down. Veterans Bridge to 40th Street. Outbound Parkway North heavy. Route 19 to Cemetery Lane. That's a look at traffic. I'm Jenny Robinson.
AM 1250, The Answer. Weather.
Clouds breaking tonight with some patchy fog late and a low of 32.
Patchy fog continuing in the morning tomorrow. Otherwise, periods of sunshine and clouds. Mild with a high 54. Tomorrow night, an evening shower with a few snow showers late with a low 35. Thursday, mainly cloudy with a flurry and a high 36. With your AccuWeather forecast, I'm Gregory Patrick.
This is the John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250 and FM 92.5. The Answer.
Well, the big story in sports is one of those sports stories that's bigger than sports. It's a team cheating to win the World Series. The Houston Astros did that in 1917. That's the movie. 2017 by using cameras to steal signs. And yesterday, some people paid a big price. The general manager and the manager were suspended for a year by Major League Baseball, and then the Astros fired them. The Astros were also fined $5 million, lost their first and second round draft picks for this year and next. Jacob Bogage is a sports reporter for the Washington Post, and he joins us now. Jacob, in case we're having a little trouble hooking up with him, but that story was huge yesterday, and it's still reverberating today. We're going to find out what the how far the cheating goes or went in Major League Baseball. Jacob Bogage, sports reporter for the Washington Post. He joins us now. Thanks, Jacob, for being here.
Yeah, good to be with you.
So I saw a story that you did for the Post last February, interestingly enough. I'm sure you remember doing it, about how Major League Baseball was cracking down on this cheating. So I'm guessing you weren't all that surprised when this story broke yesterday.
You know, whenever we introduce more technology, and this is not to indict technology's role in pro sports, but whenever we introduce more technology into pro sports, there are a lot of unintended consequences. And one of them is the ability to use it for nefarious purposes. And Major League Baseball, frankly, was caught flat-footed and tried to catch up last year, and that's why Rob Manfred then issued those guidelines that I wrote about. But it took some good journalism from the folks at The Athletic, Ken Rosenthal and Evan Drellich, to drag this out.
Yeah, and you reported on Rob Manfred, the commissioner you just mentioned, issuing a 5-page memo to enforce the existing rules last February. So what are the chances that the Astros just happened to get caught doing what just about everybody else was or has been doing?
So that's a really interesting question. So in The Athletic, what The Athletic reported when Mike Fiers, the pitcher, kind of exposed this scheme was when they went to the Astros and said, what do you have to say for yourselves? The Astros, at least unnamed sources from the Astros, said, by no means are we the only ones. We're doing this to defend ourselves because other teams are doing it too. And we've seen, who's been suspected of doing this? The Boston Red Sox under Alex Cora, the Cleveland Indians under Terry Francona, the Red Sox accusing the Indians, the New York Yankees using a Yes Network live broadcast. A bunch of teams have been accused of doing things like this. This may very well just be the case that we have the full story on one of them, and Major League Baseball is bringing down the hammer.
Yeah, I mean, I covered sports for 40 years, and I'm sorry, but I'm not going to buy that the Astros are the only ones doing it. And I just wonder, though, if that's the case, what the chances are of any of these other teams paying a price, or will they just use the Astros as the, as the example, and hope that they scare everybody else off?
Well, I mean, that's a great point, but boy, what a high! I mean, if you didn't get caught, and you see this is the price to pay, like you lost your GM who reinvigorated the analytics revolution in baseball. You lost arguably one of the most popular managers in a clubhouse in baseball, a guy who went to, two World Series in 3 years or 2 World Series in 4 years. I mean, this was the model franchise. I grew up rooting for the Baltimore Orioles. I still follow the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles, when they cleaned house, when Buck Showalter left, literally said, we're going to rebuild ourselves. in the image of the Houston Astros. And they brought in all of these kind of Astros alumni, who were part of Jeff Lunau's tree and A.J. Hinch's tree. If you are a successful team and you are stealing signs illegally, I would imagine you would stop right now, because if you get caught, the price you're going to pay is astronomical.
Yeah, there's been talk, even been talk here that the Pirates, I've been hearing this for a long time, speaking of 40 years, the Pirates are going to try to emulate the Astros a little bit. So maybe everybody's doing that, that they are the model franchise. And I wonder how much the other teams were aware of what the Astros were doing and just couldn't prove it, or were convinced that they were, and it took someone actually ratting on them, which is what happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And it could be the case that when we talk about these other teams, if you come forward and say, I know so-and-so is doing this, the next question is going to be, well, how do you know? And are you willing to expose how you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, the Red Sox did it with an Apple Watch. You reported on that. How does that work?
So that was actually a similar scheme, and no surprise, because who was the manager?
Yeah.
Alex Cora, who was the bench coach in Houston and theoretically the architect of this. But that would be literally someone in the replay room using that live feed from the center field camera, sending a text message to a trainer on the bench on their smartwatch, and then that trainer could read it out to players on the team or coaches.
And so here's the thing, as you said, they've been stealing signs in baseball forever, and they'll keep doing it. There's nothing wrong with doing it legally without the help of technology. If you're standing on second base and you're able to pick up something from the catcher, and you've figured out their system and what their signs are, there's nothing wrong with that. That's just gamesmanship. That's just playing the game. But for them to do what they were doing with the technology, the technology is only going to get better. So they're going to be, just as you mentioned at the beginning here, there's only going to be more opportunities to do this. And I don't know. I guess they're hoping that this penalty is going to be enough to deter it.
When I looked at Commissioner Manfred's report, the key word that I was looking for, and it comes up a number of times, was integrity. As soon as Rob Manfred invokes the term integrity, this would lead people to question the integrity of our game, the integrity of the sport. Now you're classifying this not as a snafu or a misunderstanding or even some sort of cheating scandal. You're putting it in the same context as Pete Rose and as the 1919 Black Sox scandal. You are directly invoking this idea that you have threatened the very idea that I could turn on the game at home and think the game's being played fairly. I can show up to a ballpark and assume that the game is being played fairly on an even playing field. As soon as he invoked the word integrity, you knew that he was going to bring the fury of his office down on this franchise, and he did.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It didn't take long for people to start calling them the Houston Asterisks.
Yeah,
that's going to stick too.
It is going to stick, and I think that's why we saw, a lot of the talk this morning and immediately after the punishments were announced. Of what are you going to do with the World Series title?
Yep. And what are they going to do with it? I mean, it's not like college football or basketball where you can vacate a championship, which doesn't work anyway. But, I mean, it's officially done. But, you can't go around and take all their World Series rings away from them, can you?
No, you can't. And this is already a bit of a crisis that Major League Baseball is containing. And I think we'll move on. And we'll play opening day, and everything will be fine. The world won't, implode on itself. Yeah. If they stripped a World Series title from a team who most of these players are still in the big leagues, and there's still, Carlos Correa, Jose Altuve, these people are still stars. If you were to, George Springer, if you were to strip a World Series like that away, that would be a crisis from which it would take a long time.
Yeah, and I think we saw that with what happened with Spygate and the NFL, which to me is the almost exact football equivalent of what the Astros did. They stole signs, and they were able to, the Patriots, Hines Ward said after the Steelers lost to them in 2001, he said it was like they knew what we were going to do on every play, and they may have because they had videotaped the Steelers' signals. To me, that's exactly the same as doing what the Astros did in baseball. It gives you a gigantic advantage to know what's coming.
And the way that signs are utilized in those two sports are very similar. Knowing what route a receiver is going to run or who's going to pull on the offensive line or whatever the play might be is basically the same thing as knowing what pitch is coming.
Yeah. And did in your reporting, you talked about they were cleared. The Astros were in the 2018 playoffs. They were accused by I forget, I don't have it in front of me here, but I think other teams had accused them back then, but they didn't get caught for 2018. They got caught for 2017. So, do you think they actually quit doing it a year ago?
So this is interesting. So the scheme theoretically would be a little bit different. What they did in 2018 is they had a team photographer positioned in the photo well, shooting photographs into the opponent's dugout. They insisted to Major League Baseball, the Astros did, that this was purely defensive. We are not looking for signs. We think they are trying to steal signs in an illegal way, and so we are trying to document that. We're trying to catch them in the act.
Okay.
Now, you can choose to believe that or not. Major League Baseball at the time did choose to believe that, and they cleared them. But then you read Commissioner Manfred's report, and he says in the start of 2018, this banging on the trash can routine continued through the year. Eventually, it stopped, he says, sometime during the 2018 season, but it was there to start the year.
We're talking to Jacob Bogage. He's a sports reporter at the Washington Post, and he did a story last February on Major League Baseball trying to cut down the amount of cheating that was going on with teams with stealing signs. And here's an interesting quote from your story, Jacob, from the manager of the Astros who just happened to be fired yesterday. He says in your story, quote, "There's some unintended consequences that come with the advancement of technology. It's a league-wide conversation that needs to happen in time. It's happening right now during a really important series, and I just think it's bigger than us. It's bigger than any team. It's bigger than any series. It needs to be corralled because of the state of the concern over it. The competitive edges nowadays are so narrow, you're trying to find everything you can, and whether that's pitch tipping, pitch sequencing, changing your signs, changing your location of your defenders, this is a bigger topic that's going to take a lot more time than an overnight story and concern and people's curiosities." I think that qualifies as irony, that quote.
It's incredible. I went back, I read that again today as I was doing more reporting today. And then I also thought about the days after the Brandon Taubman incident.
Yeah.
After they won the pennant. And the way A.J. Hinch spoke to the media in the days after. And, I mean, I remember I have colleagues here at the Post who wrote about A.J. Hinch and the Astros organization. Wow, this front office is a boys' club, and it's toxic, and someone needs to clean it up. But A.J. Hinch, what a mensch. This guy understands. This guy's got a clear picture of how to be, tough and hold your players accountable, but have a diverse and tolerant and accepting workplace. And maybe that's why this team does so well. Maybe it has to do with his leadership. And I just, and maybe this is overstating it, I wonder if it will be difficult for him to find another job when he returns to Major League Baseball after the 2020 season because of him getting up on a podium as his team is stealing signs and saying something like that. And, this image of him as the next generation of leadership in Major League Baseball in the dugout. I'm going to borrow a phrase from the NCAA, having a total lack of institutional control over his ball club.
Hey, Jacob, I'm out of time. I really appreciate you doing this for me and filling me in on what's going on with that and getting your take, especially as a guy who, fortunately and interestingly enough, you were covering this a year ago. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Always good to be with you.
All right, that's Jacob Bogage, and he's of the Washington Post, and we will be right back. They blow into town with the wind, rain, and hail. And out-of-town storm chasers going door to door, often posing as a local company offering a quick fix to desperate homeowners. If you've had damage to your roof, windows, siding, or gutters and downspouts, you may be eligible to get them replaced or repaired free of charge. Just be careful who you call. Visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com for a free inspection from one of their highly trained appraisers. With over 50 years in home remodeling, Windows R Us is the area's premier exterior replacement company for roofs, siding, gutters and downspouts, doors, and of course windows. If damage isn't your issue and you just want something new, you'll love their no-pressure approach, no hidden fees, and one of the fastest turnaround times in the industry. A company who will never skip town when it comes to honoring their warranty. Visit WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com. Mention STAG for an additional 10% off. Windows R Us, proud sponsor of the Jerk of the Week, heard every Friday on the John Steigerwald Show. WindowsRUsPittsburgh.com.
Hey, I'm Andy. If you don't know me, it's probably because I'm not famous. But I did start a men's grooming company called Harry's. The idea for Harry's came out of a frustrating experience I had buying razor blades. Most brands were overpriced, over-designed, and out of touch. At Harry's, our approach is simple. Here's our secret. We make sharp, durable blades and sell them at honest prices for as low as $2 each. We care about quality so much that we do some crazy things, like buy a world-class German blade factory. Obsessing over every detail means we're confident in offering a 100% quality guarantee. Millions of guys have already made the switch to Harry's, so thank you if you're one of them. And if you're not, we hope you give us a try with this special offer. Get a Harry's starter set with a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, shave gel, and a travel cover, all for just $3 plus free shipping. Just go to harrys.com and enter 3388 at checkout. That's harrys.com, code 3388. Enjoy.
I'm Andy Solomon. T-Mobile has launched the country's first and only nationwide 5G network covering more than 5,000 cities and towns all across the country. Here's Senior Vice President of Network Engineering and Development, Mark McDermott.
This launch immediately catapults T-Mobile into a position as the country's biggest 5G network, covering more than 1 million square miles beyond the big cities to the small towns, and that's just the start.
And now available are 2 new 5G superphones that can access nationwide 5G. The exclusive OnePlus 7T Pro 5G McLaren and the Samsung Galaxy Note 10 Plus 5G.
And we'll be able to supercharge the 5G network with more speed and capacity if the pending merger with Sprint closes.
This holiday season, get a great deal on a 5G phone at T-Mobile. For more information, visit T-Mobile.com.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Do you have brain fog and lack of energy during the day? If so, take back your vitality and clarity with all-natural Cola Gel, newly discovered jellyfish collagen peptides that aids with brain and memory support. Cola Gel is all-natural with no side effects. Edible jellyfish collagen uniquely supplies the body with multiple collagen peptides and naturally occurring minerals that fuels our cellular system with energy-rich compounds. Jellyfish collagen is a nutritive formula that promotes optimum neurological activity and improves cognitive memory. Receive your first bottle free plus shipping by visiting longevitybynature.biz and enter promo code COLAGEL. That's longevitybynature.biz and enter promo code COLAGEL. KOLLAGEL. Get your first bottle free plus shipping by visiting longevitybynature.biz, promo code COLAGEL. Eliminate brain fog and lack of energy with COLAGEL at longevitybynature.biz. That's longevitybynature.biz. startlinger.biz.
Warning, listening to this program may expose you to toxic masculinity. The John Steigerwald Show on AM 1250. The Answer.
Well, conservatives love Ricky Gervais now. He went off Sunday, I guess it was Sunday, at the Golden Globes and just trashed just about everybody in Hollywood, told them to just shut up and get their award and get off the stage. And that made a lot of people in Hollywood mad, and they don't like him. But what's interesting about this is that the people love him. This, according to the Hollywood Reporter, they have a thing called Social Climbers chart, and it's rankings of the most popular entities on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. And the chart's methodology blends engagement to entities' social media accounts, along with weekly additions of followers, subscribers. Ricky is on fire. He went on the top actors list. He's now number 1 on that list. He's up from number 24. He went up 23 spots. He knocked The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, out of first place. He's now down at number 2. And then they have also, that's the list of top actors. So he knocked all these big-time actors out of there. Some of them not so big-time because I never heard of them. Or maybe that's me. But anyway, there's some on there I never heard of. But anyway, the top comedian is also Ricky Gervais. He's up from number 8. He knocked Kevin Hart out of there. So what he did on the Golden Globes really upset a lot of liberals. But you wonder, somehow the average person out there who involves themselves and follows entertainment on the various social media platforms, they love this guy. They started following him. The only thing I would say here is that something really strange about this list is that Ricky Gervais is now number 1, but Kathy Griffin has moved into number 8. So I don't know how much we should pay attention to that. But I'll talk to you tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Bye.
The John Steigerwald Show is a production of AM 1250, The Answer, and Salem Media Group.
Do you or your business have financial problems? Are you overwhelmed with debt? Then call me, attorney Dennis Spire, at 412